It's back to the Delta Quadrant this week to check in with the crew of Star Trek Voyager. You know what that means.
There's coffee in that nebula.
Sure, there's coffee, but what about huge moral and ethical choices? When it comes to the dubious array of decisions that Captain Captain Janeway has made over the years, perhaps none of them comes close to what she decides to do in the Season 2 episode, Tuvix. Does the good of the two outweigh the good of the one? What if the one is speaking for two? Blowing up that array seems simple now. One day, one night, Kobayashi Maru. Welcome back to SYFY WIRE's Warp Factor Classic Blend. Engage! Prepare for a very heartbreaking mission briefing! This episode first aired in 1996, but if you haven't seen it, it's new to you. All crew to spoiler stations, but because 1996, yellow alert! Tuvok and Neelix go on an away mission to nab some flowers, and Tuvok insists on not having any fun.
We are not here to have fun.
Transporter malfunction occurs when they beam back aboard, and Tuvok and Neelix have now become one singular person. The EMH confirms this and adds that there are also some of the orchid samples from the planet in the mix.
It appears to be plant-based.
Kes, who has a very strong and close relationship with Neelix and regularly studies under Tuvok, talks with this new person in sickbay. After ruling out Nevok as a name, he decides on Tuvix.
How about Tuvix?
Janeway doesn't know what to make of Tuvix, who wants to resume Tuvok's duties at tactical rather than Neelix's duties in the mess hall. At a staff meeting, Tuvok has the notion that the orchid samples were the reason for the merging. He then becomes really popular as he has the humor of Neelix and the logic of Tuvok. He's better at security and he's a better chef too. Not everyone is thrilled, however. Some of the crew miss Neelix and Tuvok as they once were. Tuvix and the Doctor get firm answers as to why the incident happened, but the Doctor doesn't know how to reverse it. He tells Tuvix that it could be months, years, and possibly be irreversible.
I'm not optimistic.
Tuvix tries to get close to Kes, admitting he still has feelings for her, as well as Tuvok's wife, T'Pel. She's lonely and she's praying, so Tuvix offers to be there for her. She asks him to leave, and he does. The crew continues to accept and love Tuvix. He proves himself to be a great advisor to Janeway and keeps his distance from Kes. He becomes a full member of the crew and not an accident at all. Everything is great, and that's the end. Tuvix is a main character for the rest of the series.
I would like that very much.
Except not. The Doctor finds a way to reverse the process after really working hard on it. Everyone's love for Tuvix goes out the airlock because they're all happy that they'll have Tuvok and Neelix back. Nobody asks Tuvix himself about how he feels about this. He doesn't feel good.
I don't want to die.
Janeway then has to make a decision. She tries to persuade Tuvix to undergo the procedure willingly, but Tuvix is not willing to do so. He wants the right to live. He pleads with Kes to take his side, and Kes then goes to Janeway, who's pissed that Tuvix has put Kes in the middle of all this. Kes then breaks down, admitting that she also wants Tuvix to get the procedure.
And I feel so guilty for saying it.
Janeway then decides it's happening whether Tuvix wants it or not. She orders him to sickbay and he refuses to go, saying that it's an execution. No one defends him, and a desperate Tuvix tries to escape before security overtakes him. Tuvix gives up and forgives the crew. In sickbay, the Doctor chooses this moment to tell Janeway that he will not perform the procedure.
Cannot perform the surgical separation.
He's a doctor. He's pledged to do no wrong. Tuvix is not doing this willingly, so it's murder. No worry. Janeway does it herself, and it works. Tuvix is no more, and Tuvok and Neelix are back. Kes is happy. Janeway walks away looking like she just killed an innocent being, which is exactly what she did.
Look at his eyes uncovered!
Does Tuvix have plenty of secrets and references residing within? Does Spock completely reject Jim's reasons for climbing a mountain?
Perhaps because it is there is not sufficient reason for climbing the mountain.
I am hardly in a position to disagree.
A big yes to both questions. Wow. Oh wow, where do I start with this one? The original script almost played out like a sitcom, and writer Kenneth Biller had to take the concept and make it compelling. No one really took it seriously, and Trek writer-producer Brandon Braga even wrote a little Tuvix jingle. What began as something of a joke episode has now grown into something far, far more complex. Biller originally had Tuvix decide to undergo the procedure voluntarily, but it was Voyager co-creator Michael Piller who pitched in the idea of Tuvix refusing to go quietly. It instantly created a huge moral issue for Janeway to deal with, and in turn, audiences. Tuvix was originally going to be played by Neelix actor Ethan Phillips before it was decided that Phillips was too identifiable. Tom Wright was chosen for the role, and he watched tapes of older episodes to pick and choose what Neelix attributes and what Tuvok attributes to play. This could have gone wrong in many, many ways, but actor Tom Wright is both charming and heartbreaking in the role.
Doesn't anyone see that this is wrong?
He has been quoted on what the moral of this episode actually is, saying, "You watch the birth and the life and the death of one character in one episode, and there is no struggle between good and evil. It's purely a no-win situation." He was well aware that he had to make Tuvix a likable character with a great deal of warmth, because that's what makes the choices of Janeway and the crew all the more difficult. Janeway actor, the great Kate Mulgrew, wasn't always comfortable with her character's choices, finding great difficulty with the line,
So at what point did he become an individual and not a transporter accident?
"That's rough." Transporter malfunctions are certainly nothing new. The early original series episode, The Enemy Within, featured Kirk being split into two parts of himself, and then screaming and crying and hugging and fighting himself. And Sonak just straight up died from a transporter accident in Star Trek The Motion Picture.
Oh my God.
They forgot about him right quick. Fans have grown more and more vocal in the years since the episode aired, with many believing that Janeway's actions in this episode to be downright criminal.
Commander, you gotta stand by and do nothing while she commits murder.
Commander Chakotay, advise the doctor we're on our way to sickbay.
Even at the time of the airing, however, fans took to the burgeoning internet to debate this episode and Janeway's decision. Biller received a lot of mail about it, and the debate rages on even now to this very day, perhaps now more than ever. Serious issues about identity and trans rights were not widely discussed in 1996, but they are front and center today, and if anything, the more people educate themselves, the more tragic this episode becomes. Other Trek tales would deal with such choices over the years, with DS9 joining Odo with the spirit of Curzon Dax in Facets. Nobody killed anybody there, however, and Curzon Odo made their own decisions. One of TNG's greatest episodes, Measure of a Man, features Picard making arguments that fly right in the face of the decisions that are made here. One of Starfleet's goals is to seek out new life forms. Does Tuvix not count? There he sits! Did Janeway have the right? Was this truly a no-win scenario? If you were faced with having to make this decision, what choice would you make? There's option 1, save Neelix and Tuvok, kill Tuvix, and option 2, forget Neelix and Tuvok and let Tuvix live. You ask me, and you haven't. Screw the no-win scenario, find a third option, one that lets all three of them live. Nobody in this episode makes any serious attempt to find a third way. Maybe take another couple days and work on it. Look into some logs of another ship, possibly uncover the tale of Tom Riker. Even if it proved impossible and you're really committed to option 1, why not create a hollow version of Tuvix so we can live on in some way? Take his picture, have some proof that he ever existed at all. They did none of this, not even close. I really shouldn't judge. I have the benefit of hindsight, and I'm no captain. Not at all. Still, would it have killed them to try hard? To exhaust all possibilities? Much weirder things have been possible thanks to Trek science, including the aforementioned Tom Riker. Picard just got put in a synthetic body with his soul intact. Nobody tried. Tuvix died.
Earl Grey never fails.
Earl Grey never fails. And Tuvix doesn't fail to give us Some really cringe-inducing lines, all coming from our crew of heroes. The lines of the episode that are the best, however, and utterly heartbreaking, have to go to the title character himself.
Each of you is going to have to live with this. And I'm sorry for that. For you are all good people. My colleagues. My friends. I forgive you.
Let's take it one further. But I want to live. They didn't deserve him, and neither do we. There's no coffee in that nebula. Not today. Earl Grey.
Do you know that lovely tune that starts, "Oh, starless night of boundless black"?
That lovely tune is a traditional funeral dirge.
Tuvix is never mentioned again on Voyager or any other series. I'd be seriously surprised if any Trek show features him, let alone reference him. Lower Decks looks to be packed with Easter eggs, so we could theoretically see an image of him. Hopefully he would not be the butt of a joke. I don't think they'd do that to him. Speaking of doctors from TNG who should show up in season 2 of Picard, Crusher Watch! Crusher Watch! Nope, wrong series. That said, what would she have done? She would have looked for the third option, that's what. She knew all about Tom Riker.
Hailing frequencies open.
Our hailing frequencies are now open. Heaven help me, but feel free to share your thoughts on Tuvix, as well as Janeway's choice. Leave any bigotry in your quarters. It will not be permitted in this comment section. Also, be sure to call out other episodes you'd like to see us cover. That's how you got this one. One viewer writes, "You should do a warp factor for the episode The Ascent. Probably the best episode for Odo and Quark's bromance. Don't have to ask me twice. I love that one. On the list." Another viewer writes, "Why is this guy Kevin Smith's weird Elseworld cousin?" Ding, 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 whoa, 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 whoa! Congratulations, you're the billionth person to make such a comparison. Look, I like Kevin Smith. I don't know him, but he seems like a nice, talented, and kind man. Believe me, I'm nothing like him. I'm not making up a funny little jingle for Tuvix. I'm writing a mournful dirge. There had to be a third way, right? I can't get past this. Nobody cared. Holonovels to write. Da Vinci to visit. Borg to fight. Blue skies, Tuvix. You were one of a kind. You never stood a chance.